think of this one. But anyway, so back then we did. No one would have any sense.
It's a phony, even his social security.
Yep. The only thing is, taking Arnold Schwarzenegger out is harder.
I just take him out of Playboy magazine.
Was he in there?
The stories when we get to the area of the Syrian overlook. The first day, you'll see that this area, which has a lot of agriculture today on the Jordanian side, back 2,000 years ago was called Perea, and that was actually Jewish back in those times. So there was a strip down here that was Jewish, and then all this sort of mountainous area was made up part of the Decapolis, the Decapolis stretching all the way up through here. So we were up there at the northern end, and now today we're going from Tiberias. We're following the route up. We'll pass Hazer. If I'm talking about wars, we'll talk about Hazer on the way back down again. We're going all the way up through what is known as the Finger of Galilee. And on one side of us, you can see the ridge very clearly today of the Golan Heights, and understand that the Syrians were on the top of the heights, and in this area, sort of midway down the area of the Sea of Galilee, they were also down on the seashore or the lake shore. This little tiny strip, the southeast corner of the Sea of Galilee, was part of Israel, and the Syrians were just at the top of the ridge. But where we're looking across now, and from where the Jordan enters into the Sea of Galilee, all that, in fact, the Jordan River was the border between us and Syria. Okay, so all the way along there that you can see on the right, that was all Syria, and right down to the seashore in that area. The Syrians, of course, want to go back to the pre-1967 lines before they even consider talking to Israel. First, we go back to how the lines were, and then we decide whether we talk some kind of peace with Israel, which of course you can see is totally unacceptable, especially with what's going on now within Syria. I mean, those guys are sort of President Assad from the Awali family. It's known that the Awalis are totally brutal and will kill just to get whatever aims they want. And you can see that they're literally slaughtering their own people to the point now where their army is willing to sort of leave because they can't accept what the president is doing to his own people. But that's a known thing. His father was brutal as well. So that was the border. So when we're traveling up all the way to the north, on our right hand side you will see the ridge of the Golan, and it will you'll have to understand that when Israel became a state, the plan is to try and go to one of the positions here in the Syrians, which today there is a kibbutz there, that overlooked the Sea of Galilee, and you'll see how they used to shoot down into the kibbutz of Negev, and you'll see the next position here, how they shot down into Ha'on, and how they shot down into Tel Katsir, all our little settlements along this area. I mean, it was an absolute nightmare. And then today we'll go and look at a Syrian position up here, which was shooting down, and all the way along this line the Syrians just put their artillery guns, and whenever they felt like it, they shot either into the people that were working in the fields, and none of the tractors ever went out without armored plating on them. And a whole generation of Israeli kids, all those villages all the way down through here and under this part, spent their whole childhood sleeping in bomb shelters, because and that's like 30 feet below the ground, and you never, I mean, you just didn't know when the artillery fire was going to come. It was absolutely dreadful. Of course, if they would decide to do it several times during the night, you can understand how it would be to try and get kids out of bed. You know, sleepy 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 10-year-olds, and so on that have school the next morning, and run them down to the bomb shelter, then put them to bed, run down to the bomb shelter, and go to bed. And I mean, between 1964 and 67, it really was artillery fired on a daily basis into those. And then we'll go up, and here is the border between us and Lebanon. Right, it swims across the northern end of the valley, and then it will follow the top of the mountain ridge here. Those are the mountains of Naphtali, and then it goes off to the west to the Mediterranean Sea. And so in the last war of 2006, which is more fresh perhaps in everybody's memory, we were rained down on with missiles. Some of them handheld, the movable ones that you can run, you know, little motorbike. They used to hide it in people's homes. The Hezbollah threatened the people, if you don't allow us to put weapons in your home, we'll slaughter your family. So they really had no choice with that. And all the way along here, those movable weapons, those rockets could get to a line about from sort of Nahariya, Tzfat, and then all the way up through this part of the valley where we're going. But then the longer range missiles, which is very easier for our Air Force to knock out because they have fixed missile launchers, they could hit the area of Haifa and all the way down here to Tiberias, and they could actually reach as far down as Afula and the area of Bet She'an. And so during that month of the war of 2006, the last war, the rockets were raining down here, and over 4,000 rockets fell in this area. If you would have been here, I mean, if you would have been here then, you wouldn't be up here in the north, and you certainly wouldn't be visiting the Beatitudes or any of those places, because rockets were falling in this area as well, and in Tiberias. So it's kind of hard to imagine it, but that's what it was like. So we'll talk more about that later on, and what happens if you do a unilateral withdrawal out of one of our neighboring countries. That doesn't mean to say that, yeah, there's going to be peace afterwards. The opposite. Usually they see that as a sign of weakness and start raining you with rockets, just like they did in the area of Gaza, and all the way the rockets that now could reach all the southern area of Israel. So being such a little country, of course, we can always be under the range of these rockets. And now a lot of it is sort of a battle against terrorism, which is totally different from sort of regular fording the Jordan River right here and then on up to Damascus. Another branch used more in the Old Testament times was the one that went up via Hazer, crossing the Jordan at this point and then on up to Damascus. So alternative routes up here of that great sea route, right? So remember the area of the Golan. Remember this great bulge of the West Bank, because we'll be talking about that when we talk about the wars, and the area of Gaza over here. So today we'll go up to Dan, then we'll cross what was the border, the area of Caesarea Philippi. We'll look at this old Syrian position, and then we'll make our way back after lunch down towards the Sea of Galilee. About 1517 to 1917. And when we talk about the Ottoman Empire, we're talking about what is present-day Turkey. The Turks stretched right up to the gates of Vienna over here, and all the way through this area of the Middle East. Okay, I mean, it was a massive empire, and the capital of the local area here for the Turks was in fact Damascus. You have to understand that the countries that we think of as independent countries today, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, of course Israel, Syria, Iran, they were not independent countries back in those times. They were all part of the great Ottoman Empire, And it's only in the last century that these countries have become countries as we think of them today, with their presidents and so on. And so you do have to understand that the area known as Palestine, which is of course present-day Israel, was a region. It always has been a region, and it was called that as a punishment to the Jewish people by Emperor Hadrian as a result of the Second Jewish Revolt. It is not a people. There is no such thing, technically, as a Palestinian. It is not an ethnicity. It's a region. And anybody that lived in the area that was known as the region as Palestine, whether it be Jew, Christian or Muslim, they had a Palestinian passport. And so if you could be a Jewish person that was living in what was known as Palestine, but it is not an ethnicity. There is no such thing as the Palestinian people. Spoke several languages. The British were using them in their civil service, as teachers of English, in the schools, in the banks, the post offices, and so on. And in their sort of and so on, would say, hey, wait a minute. All of a sudden these people are coming in over here to see how to divide up this country into a Jewish state and an Arab state. And the commission went from, and the stripy areas would be the Arab state, Jerusalem, and around surrounding that little part was to become an international city. Look at it carefully and you will see that between the Arab areas there was almost no way for them to get from one. There were like little tiny bridgeheads, just as there were between the Jewish areas. I mean, that doesn't look feasible if you look at it. I mean, how do you make sure that those areas are not cut off? And so this excitement, the Jews said yes to that partition plan, because we would take anything at that point. And the Arabs said, no, we don't accept it. Well, the British are now withdrawing from the area. Their final withdrawal is to be the 14th of May of 1948. And of course, make sure that you could get from one Jewish area to another, just as the Arabs wanted to make sure that they could get from one area to another. But now there is a major problem, because the Arabs have weapons. Jordan is a legitimate country by this point with the king. They have been trained in Sandhurst. The Jordanian Legion has been trained by the British, and they are allowed to buy weapons on the open market. The Jews, on the other hand, living under the mandate, are not allowed anything. No guns, absolutely nothing. The State of Israel, and 4 actually voted against. President reclaimed the State of Israel. We'll see. Give it a few weeks, a few months. We'll see what happens, and then we'll try and help you, etc. But don't do it. You won't. It's not feasible. Well, Ben Gurion didn't listen. Haifa and all these different places, and all of a sudden, as a result of the War of Independence, the neighboring countries told us, and when we finished them off, not only will you have your own home back, but you will also have that of your neighbors and so on. So the world, of course, seems to forget that when Israel, and they came here, many fantastic operations. The new little country of Israel's got that were forced to leave Iraq and Yemen and those countries, and they were shooting down into this farmland and into all these different settlements from real close. This is all reclaimed farmland. This was all swamps. And of course, when it was only drained in the 1950s after Israel had become a state. And of course, the Syrians up there, and all of us, of course, like the water. But also the ones that are planted, the ones that are still along the sides of the roads, were planted especially along the sides of the roads because it was harder for the Syrians to hit a vehicle on the road if there was a screen of trees. It was difficult. Today, many of the trees, the eucalyptus, are being cut down partly because we don't want them to drink so much water, And secondly, at a certain age, they seem to get brittle, and it can be a danger for falling branches and so on. Well, of course, massive artillery gun. There's a very narrow passage for ships through very beautiful coral reefs and so on, and such lots of ships are shipwrecked down at this point in the Tiran Strait. So they put their massive guns. You've got Saudi Arabia on one side, Egyptians on the other, and there is a blockade on the seaport of Eilat. That is the case for war that will start the 6-day war. At the same time, over here in the north, the Syrians, of course, have been shelling for 19 years, but they have started to build a dam to divert the headwater of the Jordan that we're going to see, the one at Caesarea Philippi, and they are in the process of building a dam. We'll leave it at that point, because we can talk about the rest of the 1967 war and so on from the position that we'll go to later on. Okay, so we're right up now on the northern border. Lebanon is just over to our left. You'll get a great view of it from Tel Dan when we're up there. You can see the snow in front of us. We've had snow up there since we were here last time. So that is the top of Mount Hermon. And that's kind of early for us to get snow on the top of Mount Hermon. It will get hopefully a lot more snow, and then we can open our ski resort. That is actually the snow that you can see up there is not in Israel, that's in Syria. The Syrian part of Mount Hermon is slightly higher than the Israeli part. And once again, I mean, whenever you see trees lining the roads, you know that was so that the Syrians would have a problem shooting at the vehicles.